Hey, let's play this little clip. It's something that is, and this really just upsets me to no end. Joe Biden was asked, because there were rumors and stories reported, first in the Wall Street Journal, that the Biden administration was getting ready to pay up to $450,000 to illegal immigrants because maybe they weren't processed fast enough and their families had been separated. Now, keep in mind, the reason their families got separated because they came over here illegally at the hands of coyotes and cartel members who perhaps had gotten them through, and they got separated. It's a horrible tragedy, and we hate that. But why should the taxpayers of this country pay up to, this is a lot of money, $450,000. I bet that's more money than most everybody watching today makes, some in their lifetime. But this would be paid out of your pocket to illegal immigrants. Joe said, oh no, that's not true, that's garbage. And then he had to walk it back. Watch this clip.
Your administration is planning to pay illegal immigrants who are separated from their families at the border up to $450,000 each, possibly $1 million per family.
But it's not true.
So this is a garbage report.
Yeah.
Okay. So
$450,000 per person. Is that what you're saying?
That was separated from a family member at the border under the last administration.
That's not going to happen.
The president is perfectly comfortable with the Department of Justice settling with the individuals and families who are currently in litigation with the U.S. government.
The figures of compensation that is being handled by the Department of Justice is in the context of the Federal Tort Claims Act cases.
So there you have it. On November the 3rd, Joe Biden says, no, that's a garbage report. Well, it turns out that the garbage is the policy of the Biden administration. Garbage, that seems to be his policy. Because on the 4th, his acting press secretary for the day came out and said, well, this is compassionate. And she went on a long tirade about how awful the previous administration was, even though we didn't have this kind of mess at the border when Trump was in office. And then Mayorkas, who is the DHS secretary, affirms that the Department of Justice is making these settlements, and the ACLU corrected Joe Biden. So was he lying to us? Was he unaware? Either way, it's troubling. But I want to get to the heart of it. The lack of communication and accuracy of it, that's minor. The big deal is that you, the taxpayers of America, are shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars per person to people who shouldn't be in this country in the first place. And that's not a lack of compassion on my part. I've got compassion for families in America who can't afford Thanksgiving dinner this year because the Biden inflation policies are going to make it so that a $12 turkey in 2020 is going to cost you $21 this year. I'd like to know where Joe's compassion is about how hard it is for a single mom to fill up her car with gas so she can get her kids to daycare and get herself to work every day, since gas is $1.50 to $2 higher than it was a year ago. Show some compassion to that single mom who is an American taxpayer who can't afford to pay the rent because of inflation. So please don't throw me the compassion argument. I ain't buying it, not even a little bit. Okay.
Good.
Questions?
Good stuff. Super chat from David Mizrahi. Thank you for that, David. Is Nancy Pelosi competing with Kamala Harris on who has a more insane laughter attack?
What a great question. I love it. Too bad we didn't get a compilation of some of Kamala Harris's cackles and Nancy Pelosi's giggles.
We can do that.
Yeah, I bet we can. I bet we will, just because that's a great suggestion. Yeah, they're both annoying as heck. I can tell you that. And I hear them and I'm thinking, I can't unhear that. And I wish I could. Okay.
Okay. Furball Ami writes, can you remind your viewers that not all Democrats are progressive and far left? There are some of us blue dog Democrats that believe in being fiscally responsible and pro-American voting for Trump.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact. I long for the day when Democrats and Republicans aren't that different, when they both love America deeply. For example, there used to be a pretty significant blue dog caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives, and they were significant and they had quite a bit of power. because there were a lot of them. They mostly were from the South and the Midwest. But these are mostly pro-Second Amendment, many of them very pro-life. They believed in fiscal sanity. They did not believe in running up huge government debt. And they weren't wanting to raise taxes. But here's sadly what happened. Those Democrats were systematically pushed out of their own party by people like Nancy Pelosi. And in their place have come people from the far left, the AOCs and the Rashida Tlaib and others who are just out there in ways that, you know, I miss the folks that used to be there. And, you know, if you look back, John Kennedy was a Democrat unlike anything that we see today. He was pro-life. He was an anti-communist. He led one of the biggest tax reductions in American history. You know, he would not recognize his party. And there were a lot of Democrats. Sam Nunn of Georgia was one of those Democrats, and a host of others. I wish we had some now that would take charge of their party. Hey, you know what? I'll even throw another one at you. You might be surprised. Go back and look at Bill Clinton's administration. His first year was a disaster, 1993. He tried to really push things to the left. But he got a royal spanking in 93 in the special elections, one of which was the one I won lieutenant governor in Arkansas with. And then in 94, really took a shellacking. And to his credit, Bill Clinton's always been a smart enough politician that he learns from mistakes. And so then he worked with Republicans to do welfare reform. You may remember he said the era of big government is over. He was pro border control. And quite frankly, his leadership as president led to the first time in a generation that we had a balanced budget. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, then subscribe, and hit the notification bell below. Now, if you didn't like it, you ought to find a Ben Shapiro video to detox you with more facts.